Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I am Heather Pickett. For those of you that don't know me, the director of the Texas Restaurant Foundation. And Haley Savage, as you all know and have seen from Texas ProStart Invitational the past few years, is our newly appointed ProStart coordinator, along with all of her other event management duties. So lucky to have her and her expertise, as Haley was a ProStart student herself, was a state winner in management and a national winner in management. So luckily to have her expertise along here with our judges. And so we wanted to invite everybody here today to address any questions you have. What are some of the barriers that are keeping you from creating a management team and registering and participating in the management side of the competition? Culinary is moving and grooving. We're at 45 teams registered already, but would like to see the management side grow. So today I'm going to introduce all of our panelists who are also judges and mentors and let them tell you a little bit about themselves as well. So we will start with Gary Johnson, who was with Frontier Enterprises in San Antonio, Texas, and is our lead management judge. Gary, you want to introduce yourself, share a little bit?
Yeah, hello. I'm glad to see your interest by being on this call. I am very fortunate. I've been a part of the management competition for ProStart in Texas since we started, since we got involved. And then I also have the good fortune of judging at nationals. I used to judge as a judge the first few years, and I guess the first 3 or 4 years. Did critical thinking and just fell in love with the program and the opportunity to work with, young, bright minds. And it's always been a battery recharge for me anytime I get around them, just to remember what it's like to have that much passion and energy. But no, like I said, I judge at nationals also. And as the lead management judge here in Texas, I have seen through the last few years that there is a dwindling number of schools, competing in management. And being a director of operations for a small regional chain myself, I'm concerned about that, and I want to help in any way I can to help people to understand that this is a very approachable program. It delivers just fantastic information and understanding for the students, and really puts them on a potential career path in our industry, and really gives them a very, very good, solid, firm foundation towards that. So that's all about me. So.
Thank you, Gary. We will stay in Texas, and happy to have Chris Tripoli joining us today. Chris is a restaurant specialist with 40 years of industry experience. I'll let him tell y'all more about that. But this will be the second year, Chris, or third year that you've been working as a mentor management? Second year as a mentor manager or a management mentor.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Heather, for having me. And hello, everyone. That's true. I'm a lifer in this industry. So that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to the ProStart competition years ago when it was first starting. I just started in the industry working and then got fortunate enough to get into management, and then was more fortunate to create an idea, a business plan, pitch it, raise money, and start being in the restaurant business on my own. I spent a little over 25 years doing restaurant development work and consulting for others, which means I'm drawn to this management competition because I've seen it work in real life. And so although it's a little different than the steps in our competition, I'm drawn to it, and I've enjoyed it for years as a judge. I'm beginning to enjoy it a lot as a mentor, which means I can't judge anymore. But what I can do is work with educators and teams, answering questions, helping with research, helping with guidance, trying to make it a little bit easier to understand, and maybe a little bit less overwhelming. And the reason that's so important to me is it is a little bit personal. This industry isn't only culinary. Culinary is really important, obviously, the understanding of food. But as you get interested in it as a business, you see that the people side, the process and procedure side, the financial side are just as important. And so if people are interested in trying to test out an idea and build a plan, I love the competition of that. Our industry has more than I think any other industry, workers that go into management, and management that then become small business owners. So that's the other reason why I really like the educators that want to work with their students. Some of these students might wind up working in our industry, get fired up, and need to put a plan together to create their own sandwich place, create their own catering company, maybe own a franchise. And we have a very high percentage of people in the industry to do that. So that's why I'm drawn to it. I like the reality of it. And I'm here to help educators and the teams now. So if that's going to be important to you, all you have to do is reach out and I'll help in any way I can.
Thank you, Chris. And we are also very excited to have Michael Santos joining us. Michael resides in Las Vegas. I don't know where he is today, but Michael is the lead management judge at the National ProStart Invitational. So thrilled to have him here to share his expertise as well.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am currently in Las Vegas on pickup duty for the kids, but very happy to be here. I've been in the industry now 24 years, holding roles from host to baker, server trainer, manager, owner, restaurateur. We have restaurants here in Vegas. I also am the chief operating officer for a group in Texas. We have restaurants in Houston and the Colony. Very excited to be joining you guys and offering some insight to the competition. As my peers have shared, I think the competition is a great way for students to get really an inside view of what it takes to curate an idea for a restaurant chain, restaurant brand, and bring that to life through the design, through the decor, through the service styles and menu, and all the things that it takes to really brand a restaurant and create its identity, really.
Thank you, Michael, for joining us. I'm going to hand it over to Haley now, so we can get down to everybody's questions and sharing updates, rules, overviews, things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. I'm going to give a brief overview of the competition and then hand it over to Gary. The best way I like to describe the restaurant management competition for ProStart is very similar to Shark Tank. We've all seen Shark Tank, and it's a great way to create a business concept and pitch it to a panel of judges. And that's exactly what our students are doing at the competition. So there's four main key components of the competition, including a business plan development, menu creation, presentation, and Q&A session. So before you get to the competition, you will be, of course, reading the rule book, which I hope many of you have already done, and using that criteria to come up with your business plan and developing that. Some key components in that is market analysis, financial projections, marketing strategies, and operational plans. So you'll be thinking about everything that needs to go into a restaurant business, except for actually building it. So that's the business plan development. Menu creation, of course, every restaurant needs a menu. So you will be coming up with a select few menu items to really showcase what your restaurant encompasses. These menu items are solely meals. These don't include any beverages. And so you will be coming up with costing, ingredient sourcing, and things like that for that menu creation. Next is the presentation. You'll be on site in Waco, Texas, presenting to the panel of judges about your restaurant concept. You're sharing with each category judge of different things such as marketing, operations, critical thinking, and the list goes on. And so you'll be talking to those judges about your concept and really sharing them your passion behind this project. And then the last is the Q&A session. This is where the judges will get to ask you questions about the concept. And this is one of my favorite parts of the competition because you really get to show how hard you've worked on this project and how well you know this business plan that you and your team have created. Your team will consist of 5 students maximum. 4 will be actively competing and you'll have 1 alternate. You do not need to have a max of 5 students. We just require a minimum of 2 students. So that's a little overview of the competition and the makeup of the team. So I will pass it over to Gary to give some competition structure and components.
Yeah, as Haley mentioned, it's set up kind of like Shark Tank in the sense that the students have created this concept, and what they need to be able to do is to convey information about this concept in various categories and how it would apply to certain categories, showing their knowledge of what they've created. It is, if any of you have ever been to an industry trade show where there's a big open floor and, companies have 10 by 10 booth and they've got, their wares that they want to, tell the public about what it is that they offer. And so we've structured our competition to be very similar to that. The students will stay in one place. They'll stay in a 10 by 10 space. And then different category judges will come by and have a Q&A session and, hear a presentation from the students about the particular category that the judges represent. Categories are concept, critical thinking. We do 2 different sets of critical thinking judges that cover 5 to 6 different topics within critical thinking. They'll ask questions about safety and sanitation or marketing or guest relations, things along those lines that are industry specific. And they'll ask them, give them a scenario question that the students will answer. But we also have got a marketing judge. We got a costing judge that checks their math and their ability to understand how to develop a menu costing and understand what food cost is and how to achieve a desired profit. Also menu development, operations, and concept. And like I said, the judges will go around the room and they will come up to a group of students. We wait until the starting bell, at which time we've got 7 minutes from the time the bell rings and the session starts. We've got 7 minutes with the students. The judges ask for a brief overview of the concept. And I can't stress enough that you want to try to get your kids to keep it as brief as possible while still conveying the necessary information. What we don't want to have happen is that they go on and kind of ramble 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, just giving an overview of their concept to where there's no time left to ask questions about the category in which the judges are there to score them on. And as you practice this, it gets a lot better. Like I said, the brief overview is just that. It's just a swath of, hey, we are a burger concept. We are based in downtown ProStartville, and just enough to pique the interest. So anyway, they will give their brief presentation. The judges will let them know what they're there to judge them on, and like I said, the students will give a brief presentation geared towards that particular category. And then once they've finished, the judges will ask category specific questions of the students, and they will, grade them out, score them based on the information that they get. At the 7-minute mark, there'll be another bell and all the questions stop, all the commentary stops, and the judges will move on. They'll have 3 minutes to tabulate their scores for that particular school, and then they go on to the next group after that. Whereas another set of judges will come in to your students and do it all over again. And we do that around the room until all the categories have been asked of each one of the competitive schools. And then everybody gets to take a deep breath and shake it out. And then they get to go and wait for feedback. The judges will tabulate their scores and prepare their notes. And then it's usually right after we finish the competition. You'll be scheduled, the school will be scheduled for a feedback session where they'll go in. The instructors are allowed to go in with them. And that way you'll get information from each one of the judges that represents each one of the categories, and tell the students, what they do well and what they can work on, and hopefully prepare them for future competition down the road. But I personally think that feedback is one of the most critical parts of the whole competition, because I know in Texas and I know at nationals with Michael that we really emphasize and stress that these are students, and this needs to be a very positive experience for them. As an industry member for my whole working career. You know, I've been doing this 38, 39 years now. Um, you know, if you beat them up, then they're not really going to want to be a part of our industry, and that's not what we're here to do. Like I said, we're here to just give them support and let them know what they're doing well, and you know, some things that they could do to make it better, and then hopefully, like I said, they stay involved. But now, as far as I'm sorry, I'm trying to see what I'm supposed to be covering here. The written components of the competition will be done primarily, you know, well before you ever come to competition. That's what you'll be developing in class as you are developing your concept, or as the students are developing their concept. And you know, what I would say is they want to be as complete as possible. You know, the rules are very specific as far as, you know, how many pages things are supposed to be. Um, you just want them to have information to be conveyed clearly and concisely, and they need to know every detail of this concept. This is their creation. If there is an expert on this particular concept, it is them. And uh, the more they know it, the better they know it, the easier it is with the judges, because the judges will ask the question, and man, they know exactly what it is. And what we tell them at competition is, you know, if they lose track, if they, you know, lose their footing for a minute, just continue on, because no one else knows about your concept, you do. So you know, there's not a better expert out there. Now the Q&A sessions with the judges, I have my own personal perspective on this. You know, we want to know that they understand concepts. We want to know that they understand, um, you know, a SWOT analysis, let's say. Um, I didn't know what a SWOT analysis was until a few years ago. I'd never heard the term, but I've been doing it forever. And um, like I said, they don't have to be experts in it. We just want them to have an understanding of how it works and what it means. They've developed a concept. They need to know where their strengths and their weaknesses lie, and things that they need to be looking out for if you know, if numbers start to take a southward turn, or they don't have the amount of business volume that they were expecting, then they know what's that next step to take to try to remedy that situation, to fix that situation. So really, like I said, we're wanting the light bulb to come on, that they understand what the concept is of whatever that category is. It's not a perfection contest by any stretch. It is, do they understand, and are they able to articulate it? Now, if you've got a copy of the rules and you go through and you look at the different categories that they are judged on, you'll see there's some very key components that occur in every single category. Things like presentation skills. You know, this is a skill, a attribute that these students will take with them long in, you know, down the road, further on in life, whether they are in our industry or not. This is such a valuable thing for people to be able to do, is to be able to articulate and communicate. And that's what the judges are looking for as they come around. Are they able to project their voice? Do I have to strain to hear them? Do they have the ability to, you know, hold eye contact? Whenever you're talking to the group, is it just one student that's doing all the talking and the rest of the students are watching? You know, or is everyone participating? And it's very important that everybody participates, because that way the knowledge and understanding goes to everybody. Depth of knowledge you see in an awful lot of these. That's what the Q&A session is for, is to get a deeper understanding of what they understand. And you'd be amazed at how bright a lot of these students are, that you know, they may not even have ever worked in a restaurant, but I guarantee you they can certainly convey that they have. And now, as an instructor, as you're helping them, you know, shape this concept and develop the concept, things that I would encourage is to teach the students to look at situations, at opportunities from all angles. You know, from the ownership perspective, here's what we need to have happen. But if I was a guest coming in, this is what I'd like to see have happen. from a regulatory standpoint, as far as, health and codes and fire codes and things like that, are we going to be compliant with that? Just to look at things from more than one angle. There's a natural tendency to be asked a question, give a quick answer, and let's go to the next one. Well, we want to understand the depth of the knowledge, and it's important that they understand there's more than one answer, more than one solution to a problem in our industry. And I think that the ProStart program does a really good job of laying that out to be learned. But through the Q&A, they will develop that a lot better. I would encourage getting, other classmates, maybe the culinary students, to come in and fire questions to them to help them hear a question and develop an answer. One of the things we encourage at ProStart is that they talk amongst themselves before they give an answer. Teamwork is an important part of the grade as well, like that everyone participates. So, ask them questions that they need to put their heads together and come up with what makes the most sense. What do we want to say? And that practice in the classroom will definitely carry forward into the competition. I think that I've kind of reached the end of my road here, unless there's something else somebody thinks I need to say.
No, I think that was great, Gary. We'll move on to Michael, who's going to talk about key rules and guidelines for the competition.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So on the management competition, you'll have several components that kind of add up to the final score for the competitors. And Gary covered some of these things, so I'll try not to go too far into it. You'll have a total of 5 team members that you can have, up to a max of 5. 4 can compete. 1 can act as the captain / alternate. Once the alternate is selected, the alternate has to stay in. So if you do have a student who can't compete at the time of competition, that alternate can step in. But once that alternate steps in, they must stay in for the entirety of the competition. All students must wear a uniform, somewhat of a uniform, so look all simulated as if they work for the same concept. So similar to what you see in today's restaurant operation, looking alike and similar in color. Obviously, I think Texas, and remind me, you guys follow the same logo standard as national. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Let's see. Keep in mind, all student product must be their own. So all of your content that you put into the written proposal and onto your poster boards must be content you've created yourself. You can locate and find, obviously, a mentor throughout the different components of what the competition is, but all of that final work should be work you created yourself and not by someone else. You can collaborate with the culinary team. So if you so choose to use a culinary team's menu as your menu for your concept, just make sure that that's a fit. Again, if your culinary team is being, is being
Uh-oh, I know Michael is on the go at the moment, so we can wait for him to log back on. But the next topic we were going to talk about was tips for success. And I really wanted Chris to cover this topic because he works with a lot of our teams that are just now developing their concepts and practicing after school. So I wanted to get his advice on tips for success, best practices, and feedback.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we can start at the beginning. I think the first tip I'd like to share is start early. This is something that, we should maybe do early, not late. If the instructors will gather the team, and if the team has some interest, start early. Truly understand the rules. There's just a few really important pages in the rule book, and it's very specific about the report. It's very specific about, pages and how to do the report. And so there's no need to say, wait to the end. And then what happens is we err, we miss something that's important, we hurry, and at the end, the kids didn't learn much and they don't have any fun, quite frankly. So I think what's supposed to happen here is that this is a learning exercise, but it's supposed to create interest, which means it's got to be fun. And I think if there's a clear understanding of those few pages in the rule book that are going to talk about the building of the report, the scoring, so you can see, what the scoring is, the key items that go in, what's being expected, what is going to be expected in the SWOT analysis, what's expected in the marketing, what are the rules on the 2 posters that we make, size, what goes on, how to do the report. The sooner we get a clear understanding, then the more fun we're going to have building it. So I think that's one tip. Start early, have a clear understanding, don't wait, and then you got to hurry. That's when we forget, and it's no fun, and we don't get a decent score either. And then the second thing is really spend time. This is a really good exercise to create a little bit of team. Let the team spend some time on the concept. What we're looking for there is passion. What is it, something that really excites them? The judges are going to love it if the short explanation of a concept is something that meant something to them. It's something that represented maybe something that they're doing or something in their family past, something that is in their community. If there's a story, not just, we decided to do this, I don't know, we think it's kind of busy, if there's a connection, then the judges are going to understand that you're leading with passion. And in real life, quite frankly, if you interview small restaurant operators, they'll tell you that they were successful because they really and truly were interested in what they were doing. There was like a passionate commitment. We just couldn't, go on without taking our whatever in-laws' favorite recipe and creating an Italian place out of it. So that's kind of what you want to do here is take your time with the concept as tip number 2, and make sure that it's something you're really interested in. The style of service, the type of food, the way it's going to look. Is it the type of thing that's really going to hit target? And is it the kind of thing that excites you? That's tip number 2. I think the third tip that I would have too is don't be overwhelmed with things that are new to you. Okay, as an instructor, some of this stuff might be new. You're doing this for the first time. That's okay. Reach out. We'll answer questions. We'll give direction, provide advisement. We can review what you're doing. Obviously, we don't do anything. You and your kids are going to do the doing. But we can end the overwhelming by helping you with what those definitions are and with questions and answers and with what current trends are. And so don't be overwhelmed. Reach out, ask. I think that's tip number 3. Then we're getting into the actual doing. We can tell when we look at the reports, the people that actually did the report, practiced it, reviewed it, and paid attention to it. So we want you to do that. It's very important to draft, review, reword, that menu costing, double check. There's no need to put this together just as a checklist. Okay, I'm done. I know that's going to be 25 points done, check it off. Make sure you reviewed it, make sure you understood it, because you're going to catch things that maybe could be improved or reworded, or you're going to catch things that's maybe a mistake, and you don't want that in your report. So take your time with it, review it, correct it, add, personalize it. We can tell if someone hurries and says, I needed 2 marketing approaches. Okay, well, here's 2 things that I see a lot of. Here's a coupon and here's an ad. Okay, I'm done. Let's move on. So what I'm saying is take your time. And if it is a coupon or an ad, is it for a reason? Does it really make sense to the concept? How is it going to be written to tie it together? And how are you going to, in your presentation, convince everyone that this was the right thing and that's why you chose it over another thing? And then I guess my last tip is on the presentation. Gary made a really good point of how we're looking for this to be a teamwork exercise. So you don't want to have one person, just because he or she's more comfortable speaking, do all the smiling and do all the speaking, and everyone else is just there going, yeah, me too. You really want to participate, which means understanding, which means practice. And that's what it's all about. So if you pick something that you like to begin with and you gave yourself time, then this isn't going to be that difficult. because everyone's going to want to take a piece of the story because they're passionate, they like the concept, they want to say, I'll do menu, I'll do marketing, and that kind of thing. So, and that's what we're looking for, is that you're interested and that you're practiced. And then the last one is being prepared for questions. Again, really means more of a teamwork. Take your time, talk among the team. This way, when you're answering that question, whether it's about a staff issue, a customer issue, safety, sanitation, you're not going to know. Okay. You're going to read in the rules all the different categories, but you're not going to know ahead of time. So just be prepared for each category and group as a team, because one or two of the team might be more comfortable with that category than the others. So group, then respond. I think those are pretty much the overview tips that I would pass on to anybody. And I think those work whether you're doing this with your students for the first time or you've been doing this 3 or 4 times. I think that's a pretty good outline to follow.
Absolutely. Michael has joined us. So I wanted to give him a chance to get back to what he was talking about with rules and regulations.
My apologies, everybody. All right, so where I left off, let's see. Teams must produce unique work. Keep in mind that the teams can collaborate with their culinary, as I was saying. You want to be careful that if the menu from culinary is too elaborate and it doesn't match your concept, that you may want to rethink the menu and write something that's more aligned with your concept. So it's not, you can use the culinary team's menu, just make sure it aligns with the brand and the concept you're putting out. The restaurant concept must be located in ProStartville, so please make sure you see the exhibit that outlines the specifics and the demographics of ProStartville. You'll need to select one of the 4 provided space scenarios. Those are in Exhibit C, so make sure you're reviewing the rules in detail. And we talked about the team manager already. Uniform, talked about that. Team check-in. So keep in mind, you'll have to check in all of the components of the competition. So keep that in mind as well. That is listed in the rules. Teams will be required to arrive at the competition day of and bring in their written proposal, the 2 posters, and then the costing sheet. So there'll be 4 components that you'll need to deliver. The written proposal, which typically is where we see most of the penalties, if you will, you'll want to make sure you read the guidelines in detail there. So you'll provide a written proposal that'll be typed in 12-point times Roman numeral. Again, the rules are very black and white, so please make sure your written proposal is aligned to what's written there. Stapled packets, you'll have tabs, etc. The components of what needs to be in the written proposal are also outlined: the type of establishment, the purpose and impact, the meals served, hours of operation, the type of cuisine. You'll discuss your floor plan. You'll discuss an interior and decor. Each of these sections has an outline of how many pages it can be and should not exceed, and also outlines if and where you can insert pictures. You'll do a SWOT analysis. You'll have an organizational chart. Again, the organizational chart doesn't necessarily need to know how many of each position you're going to have in the restaurant, but an outline of the staff you'll need to operate the brand or concept that you have. You'll have a menu showing your 12 items. You'll have recipes for one of the 12 items. You'll have costing for one of the 12 items. Menu pricing should be costed at 33%. Photographs, which can be a maximum of 2 pages. So you can have photographs of your menu or your menu items. And then marketing tactics, you'll have 2 to select. There are guidelines here, whether you're going to go with traditional marketing, which would be a radio ad, a billboard, a radio jingle, if you will, or if you want to go with a traditional and a social media tactic. So an Instagram post with a 30-second reel outlining your business or outlining a promotion or outlining a special that you have. So read those in detail. There are some specifics on how you can use both traditional and social media. There are examples of each type listed in here as well. And some costing is laid out for you if you choose to use the social media tactic. There's a costing for Instagram and a costing for Facebook. You do have to do an ROI calculation on both tactics, letting us know what your expected return on investment will be. Posters will be 24 by 36. Posters must roll up, and that is so that when you win, you can travel to nationals and use those posters in your competition to then win nationals. There's some penalties outlined, so you want to make sure you understand those in detail. That covers most of the rules without going into each rule specifically. Some of the common pitfalls, I will say, educators caution the students to not read between the lines, right? So we've made many of edits to the rules over the years to try and remove the ifs, and really putting out a concise statement to identify exactly what's required. If there's questions on what's required, I would encourage you to reach out to make sure we're not reading between the lines. That's typically where we see the penalties come in, is when the students make an assumption instead of reading it at face value. So I caution everyone on that. The guidelines, like as I mentioned, are written to be as clear as we can interpret them to be, and there are several folks that read through them every year as we make edits to make sure we don't make anything ambiguous. So if there is any question on a specific rule for management, definitely reach out. As the gentlemen have shared, managers in our industry are incredibly important. They become the leaders that help single unit concepts, become regional concepts, that become national concepts. Getting students to understand the importance of that piece of what we do is really important. And I think the ProStart competition today, and the format that it's in today, really gives them a glimpse into what it takes to start a concept, create a concept, and continue to manage the long-term business aspect of a concept. So I encourage you all to compete. I encourage you all to reach out with an abundance of questions. As I've stated before, if the gentlemen on the call, aren't able to be your mentors, all three of us are willing to find you a mentor in the state, in your city. Just make that request if you can't find someone, and we'll definitely assist you in doing that. The goal here is to get these students involved and give them the opportunity to learn about our great industry, and hopefully find a career path into what we do, whether that's in management, finance, culinary, legal, nutrition, and the abundance of industry options that we have that really fall into the restaurant industry as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Before we jump into Q&A, I wanted to go over just the overview of the competition itself. Like Michael had mentioned, there will be a check-in process where you will provide all of your proposals and your posters to us, and that will happen on Friday, the day before the competition. So we typically have a window from about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. where teams will come as a team to drop off all of their proposals. That is the last time that y'all will see your projects until the competition. The competition will start on Saturday at 8 a.m. and typically, depending on number of teams, will typically end around 3 p.m. We have 6 rounds of categories that our judges will be rotating through. So again, depending on the number of teams, you may be in Heat 1, Heat 2, Heat 3, which will depend on when you compete. And the full competition will be about 1 hour with all of the questions and answers. And then Sunday is when the award ceremony is. We will have a second day of culinary, and then following the close of the culinary competition, we'll move on to the awards, what y'all have all been waiting for. So that is an overview of the competition. Hotel links are on our website. If you have trouble finding them, reach out to me. Without further ado, we'll get into some questions and answers. Y'all all provided me with lists of questions when registering. I think we answered a majority of them, which is great. But there's some that I wanted to touch on. The first question being, are there any big rule changes from 2024 to 2025? So I linked the rule book in the comments. On page 7 and 8 is where you'll find any changes. Nationals makes it really easy for us to be able to go to one place and find all of the changes. So they don't make it hard. We don't have to search for them. So that is a good place to start, I would think. And then reading the rules front to back. This question, I think I'm gonna to give to Chris, and I think you touched a lot on this already, but where did they get started? Today, they watched this webinar, they're ready to sign up. What do they do next?
Well, I mean, I just think what you wanted to start brainstorming, get the interested students together. And we need to do two things. We need to let them kind of brainstorm what their idea might be. They might want to start talking. They just need to start talking among themselves as to what roles they might want to play, strengths, weaknesses, etc. And we want to make sure we grab the rules so that everyone knows right from the start what's expected. I think that's what we should do first. What's expected? What's going to be going into this report? What are the judges going to be looking for? What are the grades going to be based on? Answer those questions while they're, doing their initial brainstorming of why they want to do this and what kinds of concepts. Give them some time to research concepts that are out there. And that's kind of first. And that might right there, that's going to take a little while because they've got to read and understand how they're going to be judged. They've got to decide among themselves what type of concept we want to do and roles that we want to play.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. The next question I'll give to Gary is, what kind of food do the judges like to see on these menus?
Um, any food really, it isn't pigeonholed into one type of food. You
Right.
know, does the menu support the concept and vice versa? Um,
That's it.
because the menu is the driving force of any concept. They just need to complement each other and support each other. So, again, a lot of it depends on where they've decided to put a restaurant. What demographic they're going for. What's the competition like in the area around where they've decided to put their restaurant? Um, all these are things that if they were, spending their own money and they were going to be building a building, they would delve into these questions to make sure that they're going to give themselves the best chance to be successful. So, but any type of food that fits, their location and their building and what their concept is.
Yeah, I think Michael made a really good point there about talking about making sure that, the menu fits the concept. Because we have seen in the past where people have a really well described menu item, but the reason maybe they just put it on there was that the members of the team liked it. It didn't necessarily represent what the narrative said. It didn't really represent what the concept was that they were marketing. So the judges are really looking for a consistent
Well,
story here. So that doesn't mean it has to be knife and fork. It can be handheld. It doesn't have to be one ethnic over another. It's whatever is consistent with the concept.
well, at nationals this last year, we had 48 teams compete, and there were several cupcake concepts. There was several pancake concepts. There would it runs the full gamut of things that are hot and topical right now, things that they find exciting and fun, and building a concept around it. And there were several states that did very, very good job of doing that.
Absolutely. I think there's a misconception with students that think that the best concept is going to be a fine dining restaurant, and that's absolutely not true. We've seen concepts of all different varieties in different concepts and menus. So I think that is a great point to make. On the same topic as food, one of the questions we got was about the judges judging physical dishes. So, unlike culinary, our management teams will not be preparing any food on site. They will be preparing them at home. We do require photos of the main dishes, but they will not be preparing anything on site. So, that's something that I think for new competitors, that may be a question. So I think those were the main questions that we haven't already answered. I wanted to give the folks watching a chance to ask any questions in the comments. But in the meantime, just any closing remarks, I'd like to give everybody a chance to give some closing remarks. And then if we have any questions at the end, we can touch on those. Gary, would you like to go first?
Sure. I would love to have you be a part of this competition. It's just so important. Like I said, the skills that the students learn from the process and from the competition itself, um, it just carries on with them the rest of their life. And I just can't stress that enough. I get kind of emotional about it because I just so strongly believe in getting them out of their comfort zone and finding strengths that they didn't know they had, and skills that they didn't know they had. And it just opens up doors for them. And like I said, it is a competition that whenever it's all said and done, whether they win or they don't, whether they go to nationals or they don't, they will have felt good about it. They will have enjoyed the process. They will have said, man, I can do this. I can do something I didn't think I could. And to me, that's what it's all about. Just get started though, and jump in, because we're their very first time in competition. They may not be as polished as they want to be, as they envision themselves that they're going to be. But you know what? Once they do it, the next time they do it, they will be a little bit better. And that's how you build the program, is you just start. And like, there's an awful lot of people that are out there that are willing to mentor and help. And believe me, every one of the judges is pulling for every one of the kids. So.
Awesome. Chris?
Well, not to be repetitive, I would probably echo some of what Gary said, except I think the one thing that I would add from a personal note, I've enjoyed this so many years, and each year I can honestly tell you, it may not be the winner. Sometimes it was, but there's always one particular concept that gets me, that if it was a real thing, and if I was an investor, I would have cut the check. So the kids can do this. And every year, I know I'm always touched by one, whether it's a breakfast concept or a to-go concept. There was this Cajun concept, and I thought that's well thought out. And the menu is working, and they're so passionate about it that if they were really going to do that counter lunch thing, I'd be there. So that's what keeps me going.
Absolutely. And we'll end with Michael. Any last closing remarks from our nationals judge?
Hello, everyone. Let's see. I think it's, as I mentioned, and as you've heard from the other gentleman, it's a great opportunity for students to get in, present on a national level, state level, be able to, practice that presentation skill, practice that business etiquette for what most of them will practice as they get into college and then into their professional lives. It's a great competition, and obviously a great opportunity for them to see the inside of what hospitality and restaurant operations looks like. I encourage you all to get involved, and I sincerely encourage you all to reach out with questions and ask for any mentorship you need, regardless of what part of the state you're in. We're likely able to find you guys someone that can support. Looking forward to meeting you all soon.
Thank you. We have one last question. So I'm going to put y'all on the spot. If we're unable to answer it, we'll go back to nationals. But is there a ruling for using liquor extracts such as rum extracts in recipes?
You can use it in baking and in a recipe. It can't be used in terms of marketing or in terms of a selling technique. So it can be an ingredient, but it can't be something we focus on during the presentation. Alcohol is a automatic disqualification.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I think that was all of our questions. If anybody else has questions, feel free to email me. As always, Heather and I are here as a resource from the Texas Restaurant Association. We're happy to put you in contact with local restaurants in your area, or even throughout the state that may have a similar concept to you, or if you're researching concepts and you'd like to talk with somebody, we have so many people that are in y'all's court and would love to help. So y'all know where to find my email, but I wanted to thank Gary, Chris, Michael for taking the time to speak to our students and educators and getting them excited about the competition. And we'll see y'all all in Waco very soon.
Haley, real quick, I just want to thank you and Heather for putting this together, because, like I said, I know Chris and I know Michael too. We're very passionate about the management competition, and just what a great experience it is. And we want to see more schools involved. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All. Thank you all so much. As Haley said, reach out to us. Haley did record this. As you've seen, she has a new newsletter that is going out monthly. The link to this recording will be out next week in the newsletter. Please sit down with your students that are interested and watch this with them so that they see firsthand all of the information that our judges have shared. And hopefully this will give you all a great place to start. And Haley and I look forward to seeing lots more registrations. I see where she even put the link in here so you can sign up your new management teams. But thank you, Gary. Thank you, Chris. Thank you,
Oh,
Michael.
sure. And those of you who did already register, and Haley's given me the list, and those of you that already did request mentoring, I will be following up very quickly now that we've had this introductory meeting, the rules are out. So we'll start scheduling our Zooms and our mentoring process beginning tomorrow.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. All right. Bye, guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Y'all.
Thank